This is probably going to be a slow, rambly kind of video, showing some things and showing how I've been collecting for a while now. I'm just going to let this play while I talk about some introduction stuff. I do kind of need to take it slow when I'm talking, and just in general lately. My heart hasn't been feeling very well, and I'm just realizing I need to kind of slow down and relax a little bit more. Ultimately, like I don't really make videos for other people's entertainment. Like, if you enjoy watching them, that's great. But really, it's just something for me to do, and something that I can maybe look back on in another 5 years and just see where I was at that time. So this may be kind of slow, although I'll do a little bit of editing to make it at least somewhat more entertaining, because I know I tend to talk slowly and pause a lot. Anyway, this is Dekitate High School. It's a Super Famicom game that I bought a while ago. I haven't really played it fully, but it looks kind of like a roller coaster tycoon Galgame. It's about to show a gameplay demo here, so you can see a little bit of what's going on. But I'm not really talking about this specifically. I'm more just giving like an update and showing some things. So the backstory behind this particular set of stuff that I bought, I've been feeling pretty stressed out lately, and for one thing, my grandmother's health has not been very good. She hasn't been feeling well, and she took a pretty bad fall, so I've been concerned for her sake, and I'm pretty worried about COVID right now, especially with Omicron going around. And also there's the fact that my heart has just been feeling kind of weak lately, which is partly stress from other things, but it ends up feeding back into the anxiety of it all. And then my coworker's mother-in-law passed away. So my coworker took some time off, and I basically just absorbed her hours for a week. So I made a bunch of extra money that week, and at the end of it I was really tired and stressed, and I had this extra money, and I'd finished my Christmas shopping already within my budget, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to blow that extra money I made on old video games. So that's that. Which is not that unusual. Like, I tend to buy old games in bulk like this because it's just more economical. And for me, trying to find the way to spend the least amount of money is part of the fun of collecting. Also, like, finding things in good condition and that are things I want is nice, but you can get really into the micromanagement of the economics. Anyway, let's pull something out. So this is Chocobo Land, a game of dice for the Game Boy Advance. I don't collect a lot of GBA games, but this I bought. Actually, this is the only box GBA game I have. I bought this because there's some like minor history behind this game. So it was originally released for the PlayStation as Dice Day Chocobo. Oh, this is cute, huh? I have no idea what's going on in the simulation. aspect of Dekitate High School. It's a game that I really want to play at some point. I guess I'm just not really in the mood for a deep simulation game at the moment. I'm mostly playing casual stuff. But this is cool. It also has a sound test. See, I'm already jumping around, which I knew I would do. But go to the options. There's some good music in it. I tend to do this a lot with games now. Like I'll just watch the demo and play a little bit to see like what it's all about. But a lot of the games that I do play, I'll play a lot, like 40 hours. And because I collect a lot of them, I don't have time to play them all fully. But you know, I try to get at least something out of it, and then I can see what I want to invest more time into. Because for me, if I'm gonna play something fully, I like to really learn the system and the mechanics, and that takes a lot of time. Yeah. Anyway, so Chocobo Land, a game of dice. This was Dice Day Chocobo on the PlayStation, and then Square was planning on porting that to the WonderSwan Color. Now it didn't actually get released. It was one of their canceled WonderSwan games, along with like Final Fantasy III. It got pretty far in development, enough that they showed some screenshots, and then I guess they eventually reworked it into this version, which has some new content and balancing changes from the original Dice Day Chocobo. From one thing, I like board games, and I like the art style of this and of other Chocobo games. But also, there is a GameFAQs board for the cancelled WonderSwan Dice Day Chocobo, which has well over 1,000 archived threads on it. Now, virtually none of those are actually about Dice Day Chocobo. It was just, for some reason, a board that people gravitated towards as like an off-topic board on GameFAQs. And so you can visit this board and you can see like hundreds of threads from years past of people just like shooting the shit about their daily life and so on, which is really cool. I've always liked forum culture, and I've always been more of a forum user. I don't really do chatting much. Like I was never into IRC and Discord. I've been completely out of the loop of Discord. Like I kind of have a sense of what Discord is, but I've only used it once, very briefly, when I needed to. But I like forums. I like forums for a lot of different reasons. One, you have time. You don't have the pressure to respond to things right away. You can think of your response, or if you want to, walk away and do something else and come back later, you can do that. And also, you get a lot of history on a forum where you can go back and read old threads and get information from them, but also just like see a glimpse into people's lives and conversations from the past. And I've been thinking about forums quite a bit lately, as the Project IMAS website is shutting down, and with it the forum is going to go. And there are people who are archiving the wiki side of Project IMAS, but I think they're probably not going to archive the forum, because the forum's been dead for several years. but it used to be very active, and there were a lot of phone threads in there. So it's kind of sad that it's going to be, it's going to all disappear in another like 10 days or so. The site's going down December 31st. So yeah, that's kind of sad. And anyway, I just saw this when I was looking on J4U, in their Game Boy Advance. They had it listed. It's in good condition. It's got the manual and everything, and I will probably play this at some point. I don't play handheld games very often anymore, but I would like to play this at some point. It looks kind of cool. A couple other handheld games. This is Wizardry Gaiden 2. This is Aretha 2. I have the first one of both of these. The Wizardry Gaiden series was recommended to me, I think a few years ago, and so I have to apologize to the person who recommended it to me, because I still haven't played any of them. The thing is, like I said, I don't really play handheld games that often. I think in the past year, the only handheld games I've played have been the Phoenix Wright trilogy, which was also recommended to me by the same person, so I'm getting something done. I'm just, unfortunately, very, very slowly going through your recommendations. But someday I do intend to play these. With Aretha, I'm now just missing Aretha 3. I have all the Super Famicom games now, and Aretha 1, so getting close to having them all. They're not very common. I don't see them all the time, although they're not very expensive either, so it's just a matter of waiting. Let's look at the big Famicom cartridges. Most of these are not that notable. I kind of just picked them up because they were, like, most of what's in here was like $1 to $2. What happened when I went online, I saw that J4U had like 4,500 Famicom cartridges listed, and they always do this sometimes. Well, always sometimes. They'll list like a whole bunch of copies, an excessive number of copies, including like 12 copies of the same game at the same time, and they will just sit there because people don't buy them immediately, and they have a system where the price of items decreases by 5% every single day that it's not bought. And lately they put limits on that, particularly for higher price items, because otherwise they lose money. I mean, the only way they make money, I assume, is by volume, because they have so much listed that they can afford to have very thin profit margins. But anyway, the prices decrease when people aren't buying them, and so they'll list like a whole bunch of stuff, and inevitably you will find some undervalued games in there, and then I buy in bulk because, you know, you save money on shipping, obviously. And how exactly, like, the best ways to do that exactly get a little bit more complicated depending on what you're buying and how much you're buying. So like this is a big package I got shipped through FedEx, and with FedEx I have to pay sales tax when I import it into Canada. But for something like this, it's fine. Whereas if I were buying a whole bunch of small, like, Game Boy cartridges, then I would probably get it through Japan Post. Even though it's like slower, I don't have to pay the sales tax on it, and you know, Game Boy cartridges are very small and lightweight, so I don't need to go for FedEx. But yeah, something like this, it works out actually very reasonably to get like 60 games at once. Anyway, so this is this is Family Circuit 91. Ninja Rahoy. This is a purple large Famicom cartridges. I have black and white of this shell, but I don't have a purple one. The game looks okay. Athletic World. I have no intention of actually playing this, but it's a family trainer cartridge, and I'm kind of at the point now where I just buy things based on the cartridge. Yeah. Sumo game by Jellicle. Dosukoi Ozumo. Is that what that says? I'm not actually familiar with the kanji for sumo. But yeah, Ozumo. I may struggle with the focus a bit. This isn't a great camera. I believe this is a well-liked sumo game. I might be thinking of a different one though. Moe Pro 90. I don't, for whatever reason, J4U doesn't list a lot of baseball games, which is unfortunate because baseball games are super common, and a lot of them I would buy if they listed more of them, but once in a while we'll find something like this. And this is Famicom Jump 1 and 2. These are super common Bandai games. I'm gonna change the music. So I got a few box Super Famicom games in this order. I've been picking up box games for Super Famicom specifically for I guess about a year. Most of my collecting is loose, but sometimes I will get something boxed if it's something that I like or I think I will like. Most of the box games I picked up, I have loose already, but I like them a lot, and so I'll kind of like upgrade to a box copy. But I want it to be, for one, in really good condition, and two, with the manual. I don't necessarily care about it having all the inserts. Like if it's missing the survey card, that's not really a big deal to me. If it is supposed to have like a trading card or like something cool that comes with it, then I want that. But mostly it's the manual and the quality of the box. I figure if I'm going out of my way to import something that's physically larger, it's a little bit crushed, but it's okay. If I'm going out of my way to get a box copy that's going to cost more for the item itself and for more to ship, then like I want it to be in good condition, right? And thankfully Super Famicom is not that hard to find good condition box copies. Famicom is a little bit harder. I don't really collect Famicom boxed. But this game, I believe it's based on a manga. It's based on a toy car series, Mini Yonko. It's like a 4-wheel drive toy car thing. And this was released very late in the Super Famicom's life. I think the limited edition for this game came out December 1996, and the standard edition came out January 1997. And it's got like customizable cars. There was a sequel also that released even later. Yeah, I'm trying to pick up a lot of these later Super Famicom games boxed. They're pretty cool. I had a loose copy of that, but I saw the box for like think this was like $5, which for the time it released is pretty okay. This is Momotaro Dentetsu 2. This is a board game series from Hudson Soft. I have a couple of the other Momotaro Dentetsu games for Super Famicom, but I didn't have this one, and I wasn't like specifically looking to get this boxed, but I saw this for I think $6, and it's in really good condition, and I thought, you know what, I like board games, I'm probably gonna like this, so I picked it up. Now these two are not in the best condition, and I kind of hesitated to get these because of the condition, but this is Shin Onegashima. It's like the first part and the second part. It's an adventure game by Nintendo, released originally for the this is a Teleview and for broadcasts back in 1996, and then they released it for the Nintendo Power Flash cartridge in 1997, and then finally in 1998 they released these physical cartridge versions. So these are two of the latest Super Famicom releases I own, certainly the latest ones I own boxed, and this is why I was kind of willing to get them, despite, you know, having those physical imperfections and whatnot, because these weren't very expensive, and I figured, like, how often am I going to get opportunities to get 1998 Super Famicom games boxed with manual for under $10? Probably not that often. These aren't that rare relative to other games from '98. But still, it's kind of a cool pickup, and I was able to get both of them together as a set. I figured it would be harder to get like the first part and then you don't have the second part. At least this way I get them together. The last boxed Super Famicom game, Metal Max 2. I had this loose. This was I got this loose years ago. But this game is awesome. It's so good. I love the Metal Max series. And you know what? This box just looks awesome. Hold on, you gotta see it in good quality. But even the manual too, it has, like, every page in the manual has a 4-panel manga strip demonstrating some of the game systems and mechanics. I wish I could get this to focus better, but yeah, this game is so good, and I love the Metal Max series, and I think Metal Max 2 in particular was the peak of a lot of the ideas. The Super Famicom version specifically has some balancing issues in the late game. It's not that big of a deal, but before you enter the final dungeon, you probably want to grind a few extra levels just to save yourself a headache. There was a GBA port of this, which is like notoriously terrible and buggy, but eventually they remade it for the DS, which I was lucky enough to get the limited edition copy of several years ago, and I'm amazed I was able to get it as relatively inexpensively as I did. I think it was like $40 or $50 for this, which is more than I usually pay for video games, but if you're trying to get this now, you know, good luck. and it comes with a manga and a couple of CDs, and the game is so good. This is like straight up one of my favorite games ever, and it very recently got an English fan translation. So if you have any interest in the Metal Max series, you should definitely check this out. I even have the strategy guide. I imported it. It's like it's pretty thick, but I love collecting strategy guides. I don't buy them that often, but I love them. They're so cool. And I actually bought this mainly for information that was not available online at the time. There are some hidden equipment stats. You can't see them in game, and there was only partial information on Metal Maniacs. So I bought the guide for that. But it's like super detailed. It has all the maps, information on all the quests. I know this looks really bad. But yeah, Metal Max 2 is really cool. And so I wanted a boxed Super Famicom copy for a long time. I was just like waiting to get it in really good condition, because I didn't want to get like a subpar copy of one of my favorite Super Famicom games, right? Finally, I did find this, and now I can die happy. So let's quickly go through the other Super Famicom games that I bought here. Most of this was Famicom. You know, for the past year or so, I've been more so focusing on Super Famicom games, collecting, and I'm getting to a point now where I have most of what I want, and so it's a little bit harder to find things that I'm still looking for, because a lot of the games that I don't have are like very uncommon. Some of them more expensive, like Tsukikomori is the big one that I really want, but I'm probably not going to find that. This game probably sucks really bad, but I bought it mainly because it's listed as an RPG on certain places online, even though I don't think it's an RPG, and I have my RPG list on ROM, counting every single Super Famicom RPG, and I wanted to check, can you really call that an RPG? This is Super Gusum Oyoyo, people know that one. And the rest of these are like random crap, like Uno. Don't Lucky's A-League Soccer. This guy was like a Coca-Cola mascot. I have his baseball game, I didn't have his soccer game. Dragon. Populous 2. You know, nothing too crazy in the Super Famicom stuff. Because like I said, I kind of have most of what I want already. I'd say Super Gusum Oyoyo, probably the coolest thing outside of like, the box stuff. Okay. So a lot of these Famicom games I don't have too much to say about. Some of them I do. Let's see. So, this is a good game. It's a Fumada. I played this a number of years ago on emulator. I did a lot. I think it's an 87 Konami game. It looks really good for 1987. Not as good as some of their later games, of course, but for the time, it was nice. And it's kind of like a Zelda 2 sort of thing, where you have a top-down overworld and side-scrolling action segments. There's also some first-person dungeon segments as well. which were shoehorned into a number of Konami games around this time, including Ganbare Goemon. But mostly it's the side-scrolling action that is the appeal here. One of Konami's better Famicom games, I think. And a game that I wanted to pick up for a long time, but it is like somewhat in demand, and I was waiting to find it for cheap and in good condition, which finally I did. A lot of waiting in the collecting game when you're trying to save money. Banana, I think this is a puzzle game. Dungeon Kid. If I recall correctly, this is a dungeon crawler creation game. Like you make your own dungeons, which is neat. Not a lot of game creation tools on the Famicom. This was before the era of RPG Maker and so forth, so you don't see these too often. It's a Saint Seiya game. Yada yada. Another stack. Captain Tsubasa 2. Takahashi Meiji no Bokenjima 2. I love the first Takahashi Meiji no Bokenjima, Adventure Island. I had not played the second. I believe the first one was actually a port of an unrelated arcade game, but from then on they started making original titles. So that's why I haven't really gone out of my way to pick this up before, but yeah, I did get it. Unfortunately, these games get more expensive the later you get in the Famicom series. 1 and 2, like 1 is super common, 2 is also pretty common, 3 is a little bit pricier, and 4 is, good luck finding that because it was the last Famicom game, period. And supposedly it's good, but it's the last Famicom game, so good luck finding it. This I already had. This is Monster Maker Nanatsu no Hiho. I had a copy of this loose, but sometimes I will get a double if it's like available for cheap. This was $1.33, and adding another Famicom game to an order of this size doesn't really increase the shipping cost very much. Maybe I'm paying another 25 cents for shipping, right? So still, it's like less than $2 for a double of a game that I really like, and now I can trade it with somebody, or I can give it away to a friend who's interested in the game, or worst case scenario, I just have an extra copy sitting around of a game that I really like. And it's funny, when I picked this up, I started thinking about this game again, and I realized I first played this like 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, and I checked on the RYM forum where I had written about this back in I think February of 2017, right after I played it. And I just had this moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, where did the last 5 years just go? And also another moment where I realized my own life is becoming forum history in a way. Even though I've liked forums for my entire life, and I've always been more of a lurker than a poster on forums, and especially on sites where I'm not that active, like GameFAQs. I didn't even bother making a GameFAQs account until a couple of years ago, even though I'd been lurking the forums for a very long time. But when I looked on RYM and I saw that post talking about this game, I realized, yeah, my own life is now a form of history in the way that I like reading other people's lives on forums, which was a bit of a strange feeling. But anyway, this game is really fun. It's got like a card art style. I talked about this quite a bit on an episode of One Shootout Radio, so if you're interested, you can check that out. Magical Talent-kun 2. I had the first one. Didn't have this one. It's so cute. It's so cute. The first game was okay. It's kind of like a generic platformer. Not sure if they did anything different with the sequel, but I'll give it a try. Quinty Mappy. There are a bunch of Namco games here that, I mean, there are a lot of Namco games on the Famicom. And as much as I love Namco. I love their games. But it's hard to collect Namco Famicom games just by virtue of how freaking many there are. So I don't really I don't aim for a full Namco set at this point. But I will pick them up when I see them for cheap and they're games that I want. Like Mappy is cool, Quinty is cool. So I pick them up here and there, but I don't anticipate to have every Namco game anytime soon. They were actually the most prolific Famicom publisher, period. They had, I think, close to 100. Something like that. Minovator Saga, Minovator Saga. Hold on, because this is weird. It looks like an R, but it's actually an N if you check the katakana. Minovator Saga. It's a pretty weird RPG. I recall it had a system where you could like recruit mercenaries onto your team. I didn't beat this, but I played about half of it many years ago on emulator, and I found it surprisingly ambitious, but also really boring, so I didn't finish it. But yeah. Fantasy Zone. Fantasy Zone 2 is also somewhere in here. Takahashi Meiji no Bug Te Hani. This was like a spin-off. I heard it's got like a mix of Arkanoid and something else. It's pretty weird. Sky Kid. You know, more Namco. Namco number 18, which is back when they still bothered numbering them. They lost count. At some point there were too many. Anyway, a few Konami games that I was missing. Makai Mura. The other Takeshi game, not Takeshi no Chosenjo. I think this one's a board game. This is Mappy Land. Super Xevious. Oh, this is Gump no Nazo. Yeah, I think this was a console original. I don't think that had an arcade release. Original Xevious. Like a lot of these Namco games, I will play because there are times when I just want to play a lot of simple 8-bit arcade style games, but I don't often go out of my way to pick them up. But like earlier this year, I was at a moment where I just wanted to play a lot of simple Famicom games, and spent a lot of time playing like Nuts and Milk and Door Door, both very simple single screen games. Nuts and Milk I loved, so good. Door Door it was more puzzly than I expected. Like it's all about learning the enemy AI and understanding how the different enemies are going to move based on their individual AI patterns. Which I guess Nuts and Milk is also too. But with Door Door, it's more complex because each enemy has a separate pattern, and you have very small maps where you need to figure out what you're doing very early on. Otherwise, you can be caught in a very dangerous situation. Anyway, there's Fantasy Zone 2. This is already 41 minutes, so I'm trying to move along a little bit more. Tetris Flash, I think this came out in 93. Oh, Zombie Hunter. I had my eye on this for a while. It's sort of like a side-scrolling action RPG, I think. It looked kind of cool, but I never found it in the price range I was looking for. Or if I did, somebody else bought it like right before I wanted it. But finally, I did get a copy of this. Jarvis, Spelunker. For me, Spelunker kind of takes me back to watching Game Center CX back in the day. I never really played it much, but I feel like that's the kind of game that I would enjoy a lot. Even though it's like very, it demands a very brutal, like specific way of playing through it, and a lot of trial and error. But I kind of like that for some reason. I find it relaxing. Captain Tsubasa, Flappy, Bird Week, The Legend of Bird Week. Oh, Nyanko Town. Wizardry 2 and 3. Now, strangely, they switched the numbering of Wizardry 2 and 3 on the Famicom. Like this Legacy of Lilgamin. This is Wizardry 3, but they called it Wizardry 2, whereas Knight of Diamonds is Wizardry 2, but they called it Wizardry 3 on the Famicom. I don't know why. But interestingly, these were made by Game Studio, which is the studio of Masanobu Endo. He was one of Namco's arcade developers back in the day. He designed Xevious and Tower of Druaga, among other games. He also worked on The Quest of Kai, and the rest of the Babylonian Castle Saga series. And I believe they also made Wizardry Gaiden 1, but I don't think they made the other Wizardry Gaidens, though I could be mistaken. Yeah, so that's what I picked up, and that's kind of how I approach collecting now. I will buy a whole bunch of cartridges all at once, and then I will generally play like a little bit just to get a sense of them, but often I still sit down and I like to spend a lot of time on the games that I do play, and I replay games a lot. Like how many hours have I put into Metal Max 2 between multiple playthroughs? I don't even know, but I kind of see collecting as a separate hobby from playing video games, and I'm very comfortable with it being something separate. I have a lot of sentimental attachment to physical things, and I enjoy collecting not only for collecting the physical things, but also for the whole strategic aspect of it, and trying to get good prices and minimizing shipping costs and so forth. To me, that's fun, and I'm able to do it within a budget. I save money, and I have specific funds that I put towards collecting. So I'm pretty happy with where I'm at in terms of collecting. Yeah, I feel like there was probably some other stuff I wanted to talk about, like personal shit about my health. But now that I'm here, I don't really feel like delving into that. So yeah, that's that.